Yo, what's good? I have made you a melodic house track using stock Ableton instruments and effects. And you can also download this project file for free, link below. Let's check out the low end, the booty of the track. Starting off with the kick, we got an aptly named melodic house kick. Very important. Little boost in the sub. And then a top kick to help it cut through the mix. Just a little sample right there. Some EQ to take out the lows, because we have the lows in the main kick layer here, so we don't need that low sub. Get rid of that shit. And then a bit of reverb on the top kick layer, just to give it some life. Combined. Context. And then for the sub, we got this basic sub sign preset from Operator. Sidechain. And then this EQ is cutting out. So sometimes when you have sidechain on your sub, you can hear like a click. Some weird sounds like that. So if you just put an EQ after it, you can usually get rid of it. So that's nice. And then a respace, just to kind of fill out the sides, add some more low end warmth on the sides. Reese Odyssey preset, Operator. So just taking out all the EQ here. You know, that's way too dank. We don't want all that. So just EQ it out. An auto filter is used for a lot of automation throughout the track. Bringing it in. Also, respaces are really nice for breaks, just to kind of like add a bit of body, but not too overwhelming in the bass area. So listen to this. Not every break needs a reese, but this one felt like I needed it, especially. Yeah, it was missing something without it. So we have a utility automating the volume, and then the main bass, we have this guy, Sawpure muted bass, an analog synth via our preset. OTT. EQing out the lows because we have the sub layer already, so we don't want to interfere too much with that guy. And this auto filter is taking out the highs because we don't need them. Sounds cool, but you don't need them. Probably can't even hear them, to be honest, with everything going. You can hear the attack, but this ain't the song for that. And then a little harmonic bass layer, fifth, soft fifths, brass. I think every instrument I use, every Ableton instrument I use in this track, were just presets. I'm not a sound designer guy really, so I like presets. We got this, more OTT. I think the same processing as the first layer, yeah. And then on the group, we got an amplifier. Take everything off. So we got the bass amp mixed in half. Really beefs it up. EQ taking out some more of the sub that probably this guy introduced. A little bit of chorus for width. Pretty mono there. Nice. And then erosion kind of on the wide noise kind of accentuates the width. So listen to this. Very nice. And then automation being done with the auto filter to kind of pull it in and out certain transitions and stuff like that. Sidechain, volume automation. Yeah, you'll notice a lot of the automation is just volume and filtering things in and out. That's a big chunk of at least the melodic house that I like. Cool. So that is the low end. We got one last thing, another auto filter cutting out the lows for certain transitions. And yeah, that's the low end. All right, on to the drums. First layer is this really cool groove. It's got a kick in there that's playing nicely with the 4 to the 4 kick. Yeah, there was some extra sauce in here that I didn't want. So just went to the envelopes, clip, gain, and then turned down the gain for all these little hits that I didn't like. So that I don't want that. So you get rid of it. And then we got a bit of echo. Not here, but here. It's only affecting the 6 to 9K kilohertz range. You can hear it kind of bouncing back and forth. So that's nice. Just wanted a bit more movement in that loop, that little symbol or whatever that is. Then some nice reverb. Some extra EQ on the reverb as well. A lot of reverbs, you'd probably don't want to have a lot of low mids, kind of really muddies up the track. So try to be conscious of that. Listen to your reverbs, and you can add in EQ after it, or some reverbs have an EQ in it. But even still, I find the reverb in, or the EQ in the reverbs usually aren't enough. So I will usually add an EQ after as well. So that's the first loop. Bit of sidechain. Actually, a lot of sidechain on this one because it has a kick already on like the one here. That. So that's, too much combining with the existing kick. So just get rid of that. Oh wait, I think I still have this one soloed. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So just get that out of the way for the main kick. That's the plan for this guy. And then we got some bunch of layers for the clap. Let's started with this guy. Then we got this guy. And then I like to add some sort of like saturation or distortion or something when I'm adding a lot of layers for a clap or a hat, just to kind of glue it all together. So I added an overdrive. Getting rid of the sub here. There we go. And then another little clap layer. It's hitting a bit after, just to add a bit more groove. Nice. Now for the hat, similar to the claps, I added a bunch of layers together and then process them. So here it is. Little accent here. Little tip for when you're adding maybe like a quick little, I don't even know what you call that, but just like a second kind of hit. Try to lower the velocity on the second one so it's not as static. See if you can notice difference. Just helps with the humanization of the groove. All right, so this was the first layer. Oops, my bad. This final layer was added because I found the hat in the mix. I think it wasn't poking through enough. It felt like it was kind of soft, too soft. So I wanted this little transient layer. Just this little guy right here. Just poke this guy out. It's a good tip for getting drums or any sound really to poke through. Add a transient layer, and it's usually enough to help it. And then similar to the clap, we added an overdrive to glue the layers together. And two different types of reverbs. First one is the room reverb, just for the liveliness of the drum sound. The bright room. And then I added this shimmer plate reverb layer, which is really adding a lot of energy to the drums. Not so much there, but so you can hear that the reverb in the back, which is kind of doubling as a noise, like a white noise layer that sometimes you'll see people add to their tracks. This was the idea behind that. I was referencing Sultan and Shepard's "You Are My High," and I could hear their hats were shimmering a lot. They were really splashy in the background. So we added this guy, and then just to keep it clean, two compressors or two side chains, one side chain for the actual hat. So every time the hat hits, this reverb gets out of the way for the actual transient. And then also side chain for the kick, so it doesn't kind of interrupt the groove too much. So without the side chains, it's bouncy, bouncing. Yeah, nice. It's like a nice natural way of adding white noise. Also, when you're thinking about adding reverbs to elements, more often than not, depending on what you're doing, but if you want to keep like the the sound, the original sound, like as strong and like upfront, or the attack, the transient as strong as it is, either do a send, like a reverb send, or just put it into an audio effect rack and then do it that way. So you can keep the initial sound still strong, but you got all the effects of the reverbs and whatnot. Cool. Now we got another hat layer here to help with the groove. EQ'd out the lows, added a little delay or an echo. And then side chaining, just so again, keeping the kick groove solid. Little shaker layer here. Wanted more of the 10K, 11K area boosted, so there's EQ for that. And then on auto pan, bringing it around your head. And then finally, we have this intro perc sound, just to keep the intro little interesting. Pitch down 3. Part of an existing loop. Just cut it. This little 2 1 bar. 1 bar. My name's Dunbar. Yeah. Then for the drum processing, little drum bus. Mixed a bit. Taken out, just gain matched a bit. Usually when you put the drum bus on, it really beefs up the volume. So I just wanted to make sure the volume wasn't tricking my ears into thinking the drum bus was actually doing beneficial things. Some EQ. Gain automation for the main sections of the track, slowly increasing the gain to kind of increase the energy. Both drops. And then some auto filter just at the end of the to the next break section here to bring it out. Ease into it. Cool. Let's take a look at all the melodic layers here, starting with the main melody. We have a melody call and a melody response, which we'll get to in a sec. So this guy is a basic pluck ARP, which is a preset. Just like I said earlier, everything's a preset. Everything's a Ableton instrument preset. All right, so we got some saturation going on, bunch of EQ. Let's first actually get rid of everything. So it sounds great already by itself because I think there's quite a bit of processing on the preset already. So that's what we did. A lot more reverb and delay. Okay, so we got the saturation going, the EQ, and then some reverb, which is acting as kind of a tension builder, automating it up to the end here. It gets more washy as the track progresses. Ding, ding. Using an EQ after the reverb to really control what's being reverbed and not too much high, not too much lows. Using a sidechain on, or sidechaining the reverb to the actual melody itself. Just like with what we were doing with the hat layer. So the reverb gets out of the way each time the note hits, just to clean it up. And yeah, we had a compressor after the reverb. I wanted to, sometimes the reverb I find doesn't really carry or sustain as long as I wanted to. So it's nice to add a compressor after it. So listen to that reverb. Just brings it closer to the front, and then some erosion, which isn't really bumping right there. Right here it is. This is to help really bring it cutting through the mix here. Yeah, just I find with erosion, it kind of like just makes the stereo more alive with certain sounds. You know, that little sizzle really helps. And then more EQ, and then auto filters doing what they do best. They bring things in and out nicely, or yeah. And then a lot of automation using the macros, the kind of preset macros that they included with the preset. So the filter cutoff is going up, up, up as the track progresses, kind of, you know, building the energy up, up, up. That's the way she goes. And then we have a response layer. So together they sound like this. First layer was taken from this drum loop. So I was hearing this little that. So I took it, put it in its own layer, increased the volume, and there it is. And then I layered it with something more tonal, which was this guy, Subtle Look Pluck. Operator preset. And then on the group, some utility for more gain. Hot Fuzz pedal, which is adding that like kind of distorted fuzzy sound. Again, helps it cut through. Really helps it cut through the mix. And then some reverb. Gives it more space. Auto filter, filtering in and out. You know how it goes. And then some gain. Filtering in and gain automation. That's the name of the game. And then we have this tonal kind of clap layer. Really enjoy tonal drum sounds, or like tonal sounds that go with the drum groove. So do Sultan and Shepherd. I find a lot of their tracks, they have a lot of, especially with the clap, they add like a tonal layer to it. So sample, EQ, reverb. I don't like Ableton's. I don't like a lot of their reverbs, but their ambience reverbs they fit my style. So check them out. Another sample, EQ, reverb. And then just a bit of sidechain. So, because since the clap always lands on the kick, just wanted to keep it maintained, keep it under control. And then during the break and the last half of the track, there's another melody that comes in. Just bit my lip. Ow. So here it is. First layer. This Git proc loop, which is, I'm pretty sure it's still a preset from just a simpler preset. Sounds like this. So this is like the background kind of ambient layer to this main section here. So wash it with reverb. OTT after reverb, that's always fun. EQ. This little, what is this thing called again? It's panning reso. What are these? Corpus, there you go. So this was like the supporting layer to this main layer, which was a mouse ARP drift preset. Not much needed because I think there's enough on there already. Yeah, a lot of processing going on the preset already. So just some reverb. And then sidechain. Then I had this audio effect rack pretty present in the break. And then automating it on the way out to the drop. A couple of chord layers here. Just a simple saw layer down the middle. If you have too much stuff washed out and on the sides, you want to balance it out with something in the middle usually. So this was that. Just a nice simple saw. Just controlling which frequencies I want to go through with the EQ. And then again, auto filter, bringing it in. And gain automation. And then the second chord layer, more of an ambient, reverbed layer. So this one's on this chord layer too, washed out on the sides, and then this guy in the middle. Something that helps a lot of movement in like these kind of sustained chords is an auto filter with a good amount of resonance. Kind of as the filter's opening up, resonance helps a lot. So let's listen to this part without resonance. You know, like not bad, but could be better. So resonance kind of going up. You can hear it. It almost adds like a second. It almost adds like a riser to it, like a. It's like the clouds are opening up and like, oh, so that really helps. Resonance on auto filters. Key. So this layer is Frozen Rings Pad. Little wavetable preset. Again, EQing, and that's about it because that's all I needed. We got all the boys here. And then we got some vocal sounds. So this intro, this was just some splice sample. Throwing some reverb on there. Controlling that mud, it's pretty. A lot of low end there. Get rid of that. And then we got this guy. Which was a vocal hook loop, but just took a section of it, added some echo and reverb. We don't like that sound. We don't like that. Get rid of that. Second, or this other vocal hit here. Again, taken from an existing splice vocal sample. Great. And then we have these ambient kind of drony melodic layers here we'll go through. So in the intro, this guy sample from Splice. I think all the audio samples that are mostly from Splice. So I pitched it up 8 and then I stretched it I doubled it, doubled the sample. What did it sound like before? Cool. So EQ again, and then this little effect. What is this, a filter delay? What are these called again? Grain delay. Little grain delay preset. Then we got these 2 layers here. One is a Stardust Strings preset. EQ reverb. So these are more like ambient background type things. So reverb is not on a send, not on a effect racked. Racked? Why do I keep saying racked? There's no T in there. So if you have a reverb on the actual processing chain itself, it's just going to wash it out, especially if it's fully wet, which was the desirable effect. Without it, without the reverb, it's more prominent and kind of in your face. So I just wanted to wash it out with some reverb. Same with this layer. A celestial pad layer, or preset. Saturation. And EQ. A lot of low end going on there, so we just want to control that. And then there's a bit of group processing on these two layers here. OTT, just a bit. Auto filter automating. And I kept the low end in this intro because there wasn't much bass going on. But then on this, when the actual party starts happening, there's an EQ that comes in, takes out the low end. And then there's this final drone layer at the end here. Forgot to touch on this part, this little group processing here on the ambience layers here. We have a phaser and a flanger and some reverb and some gain, all kind of automating as we get closer to like a transition point. So dry wet all the way down right now, but see they're slowly about to rise up. Oh, here comes the phaser sound. Reverb going up. Gain. So that's a fun way to kind of build tension and, you know, momentum throughout a track. And then together, it's grouped up with some saturation, a bit of multiband compression, EQ, and now it's just gain matching with the utility. A bit of automation on the saturator here because this guy was distorting quite a lot. So I had to automate the saturation down a bit. I didn't like that sound. So that's what we did. One final mention about just like ARPs or melodies in this genre. I find a lot of them don't really like change melodically, like they kind of like repeat. Like this one is literally just that, like these 4 notes repeating, but it's like the chords underneath that change that almost like make these sound like they change with it. I'm sure there's some sort of music theory behind that, but so let's just give your ears a taste. So as the bass notes change, these stay the same, but they kind of sound like they kind of change with it. So if you're you know, give that a try, because sometimes I found when I was first starting out, I would try to like make a lot of different melodic changes in the ARP or the melody, and just, it kind of sounded cheesy or corny or didn't really work that well. But yeah, give that a go. Now for the effects, we have this little merganser making an appearance here. We have this ambient bed just looping throughout the entire track. So without it, or with it. Just it just fills out a lot of space. It adds a nice little lively ambience to it. I love adding just cool nature or real life sounds in the back as a nice foundation. And then some kind of noisy white noise transition sounds that I made with waves and shimmer. So these sound really cool. They help transition from certain sections. So, you know, you kind of lose a bit of energy without them. And then I made a riser I took just like maybe 1 bar of this, looped it here, like that, and then added this flanger, and then just resampled it. So I had my own little 16 bar riser. And then on the riser itself, I added another phaser and some reverb to extend it after it ended at the end here. I like that. And then a simple impact, the first drop. A large clap reverb. Also pretty prominent in a lot of Sultan and Shepherd songs. So that's without the echo and reverb. And then a classic Kashmir crash. So those are the effects carrying the track. And then finally, there's a little reverb tension builder that I like to use on a lot of my tracks. I use super massive when I'm not confining myself to Ableton only effects, but this one's not bad. So large shimmer plate reverb, and then I automate the send on the melodic group as the track's progressing kind of to its peak excitement and tension levels. Really helps kind of build that washy energy. So here we go. So it's automating up. Solo it. And then I have this slowly taking out the lows because you don't want to build up too many lows ever. So you really makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. And then just to keep the main melodic sound crisp, we're sidechaining this reverb to the melodic sound just so it doesn't drown it out too much. And then, of course, the reverb is being sidechained to the kick. Cool. Let's move on to the master chain, and then we'll call it a day. All right, not too much going on the chain, on the mastering chain, because a lot of the grunt work was already done in the mix. That's probably the best way to approach making music, producing and mixing, kind of doing the best you can in the actual production and mix itself, and then just a bit of mastering to limit it and maybe boost certain stuff, or, you know. In saying that, I do love throwing a lot of plugins on the master to really bring out something. It always helps, but when you're limited to just Ableton plugins, you just go with these. And honestly, I never have mastered with just Ableton plugins, so I felt these were good enough. So I took out the lows, using a mid-side EQ. Took out the low side frequency area just because when I was using the Reese and everything, there was a bit of buildup there. So just a quick little mid-side EQ, slight boost in the sides. Just a slight cleanup. 3% mixed of a multiband compressor. Surprising what 3% does, because I find that helped a lot. Crazy. And then the glue compressor is soft clipping, because as I was producing, it was in the red the entire time, so just a little bit of clipping. I think oversampling's on. And then just a limiter. Boom! Yeah. I think it sounds pretty good. All right, so like I said, download the project file if you want for free. And also do whatever you want with this track too. I'm not gonna come after you, so you can play around with it, remix it, take everything from it. And if you go off to do cool things with it, just come back to me and I'll make you some more. All right. Bye-bye.